All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is going on, SHIPIT Nation YouTube station? We are back with another edition of the NBA show. It's your guy Ham. It's Mr. Triple Crown himself. It's Hebrewcheetah. Not one, not two, but 300 grand hits. NHL, NFL showdown, and then the other night, Thursday night. I think it was Thursday. Yeah, it was Thursday. Hebrew himself again, taking down another 100K. Congratulations, Hebrew. Hopefully you did something nice. Hopefully you went to a nice dinner. What's going on, man? Talk a little bit about that, and then talk to me a little bit about your weekend.
Yeah, no nice dinner for me. I did get myself a nice little bottle of bourbon, though. Got to enjoy that with my brother last night, so good time. Yeah, weekend was pretty good. NFL, I know we had a lot of really, big winners in the NFL, and PGA too. PGA's back, so that's really excited. Haven't been able to play yet, but definitely going to possibly dive in this week. Because I know we have definitely the best product. I'm not even being biased, but definitely the best product in the industry with DJen and all his guys that he brought over, and all the things that he added with the scorecard, all that stuff. But yeah, weekend was pretty good. NFL, not the greatest. I did max enter the millie because I always had a little bit more money to play with, and I did pretty solid. I damn near broke even, which is good for something as top heavy as the millie. But obviously you want to win first. Did not get there. I know Hoop was pretty close to top 15, top 16, something like that. So knocking on the door there for another millie win for him. But yeah, NBA has been good. A lot of people heating up. Had a good weekend over here at the Nation. A lot of winners in Showdown on Friday, I believe. And it's nice with Showdown kind of coming back with the NFL season winding down. We're starting to get some good prize pools tonight. A really good prize pool, as good as I can remember since the in-season tournament. I think we have 50K up top in that Showdown slate tonight. So I'll have content up for that one and definitely be playing it because it looks like a pretty good one. But yeah, the slate looks good. Lock hour, all the games lock in 1 hour, so don't have to sit in the computer all night long. Play all your lineups in the first hour, go get some food, and then get ready for Showdown.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Last game tips at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. But yeah, we had some amazing winners. I know our guy Kenny got over 110K in those golf streets, and there really is no product better than our PGA product. I saw that on X today. Everybody was posting that those graphics that DJen put up. Man, those things are amazing. Amazing stuff that he's putting together with him and the team. And then Hoop and Tambo on top of that. If you aren't a member of over here at the Nation, you can head on over and enter that promo code PGA100. That will get you $100 off any annual PGA package. No better in the industry. You hear it all the time, but it truly isn't anything better than what we got over here. We're going to say hello to some folks in the chat like we always do at this time. BG Littleneck, wins a lot. Jason Turner, as always. You're in here early, Jason. Go collect. Michael Ortiz, Jordan's in here. Sean Sullivan, G. Mercer. Hopefully I said your name right, G. Mercer. Nate D, as always. Casey, what's going on, my man? Lakota Kid, Cordero. New name, Cordero. Hey, thanks for coming in. Lyle, Wardo, Mr. Knicks himself, Nip, Michael Peterson, dropping dimes, says the alien is going to eat tonight against Vooch, Parabay, Gangrene, Richie Smalls. Richie Smalls, how you doing, man? Hadn't seen you in a while. Appreciate you tuning in. Ricky Rose, Trisket, Takedown, First Kings, Ranger. I think that's it, Rio. They want to get to this, though. They want to hear what you have to say about these 8 games. We're going to get into our proprietary stone over here. You can see I got it set up over here today. We've got the NBA. We got projections. We got the showdown content that Rio was just talking about 5 nights a week. I believe we have that. The stone we'll get into in a minute. We got a GPP core report, 3 core reports every night. Hebrewcheetah, myself, and BJ. Cash core report done by the Cash King. That's also known as Title. The slate info that has all the games. And then, folks, this is what you're going to want to focus on right here. The slate plan. Hebrewcheetah does a phenomenal job on this. I'm not going to click on it. You got to be a paid member to see it. It's the best. It is the Stone Nuts. Gives you all the player information that you need for the top tier players, 3 different categories, but you'll want to head on over there. Let's get right into it. Rio, we're going to get into the Stone. You should be able to see my screen. Going to talk about the first game. Got the Portland Trailblazers heading into Detroit to take on the Pistons. Pistons beat the Timberwolves the other night. I was shocked to see that score, but hey, nevertheless, no Jaden Ivey. They still got it done. Cade Cunningham's been balling all season. Talk to me about this game. Detroit, 6-point favorites, 6.5-point favorites at home versus the Trailblazers, 223-point total.
Yeah, Portland got a big win over the weekend as well. Played the Bucks on, I guess that was on Thursday. I felt like that was not too long ago, but yeah, they got a big win themselves, beating the Bucks, and they've been playing pretty well. Both these teams playing pretty good, as bad as they have been all season long, playing pretty solid basketball right now. Defensively, Pistons have been pretty solid all season long. Their rim defense really good, struggling against 3-point shooters. The pick and roll defense hasn't been that good, but I am kind of anticipating that to get a little bit better as they introduce Asar into the starting lineup. He's a really solid on-ball defender, just freaky athletic like his brother. But he is questionable tonight with an illness, so I think that's pretty big news in terms of the outlook of this game, because I think the Portland guys you're going to want to have some interest in. Just they're playing these guys a ton of minutes, and the usage is going to be condensed around 3 to 4 guys mainly. But with Asar being out, that definitely would make these guards for the Blazers look a lot better. I'll dive right into the Blazers side of things. I think Denny is a really solid option, 6.6K, pretty aggressive price increase, but definitely warranted coming off of 48 DK points and 40.5 DK points in his last 2 games. Chauncey Billups, really trust him. Anytime that there's some injuries, he'll play Denny like 35, 36. He even got to 43 regulation minutes against the Bucks the other night. Pretty durable as well. He's a young guy, so I definitely think that he's probably a lock for 36 minutes, and I think that there's definitely upside for more, maybe like 38, 39 in a close game. And at 6.6K, I think that he's got the upside to pay off that tag. It's a lot better when he was at like the 5.5, 5.8K range, but he's got 50-plus point upside in him, and I still think 40 would be pretty solid on this slate. So I like Denny a good bit here. Should have a pretty easy matchup going up against Tobias Harris, who's getting older and not the greatest defender as it is. But yeah, Denny's got a really solid floor with the rebounding and assist numbers. Mentioned the guards. I think Anthony Simons and Shaedon Sharpe are both in pretty good spots here if Asar Thompson were to miss. Anthony Simons actually shooting the ball a lot better as of late, made at least 4 3-pointers in 4 straight games. Pistons are giving up a good amount of 3-pointers as of late. The pick and roll defense hasn't been that great this season. And if Asar Thompson were to miss, I think that'd be a really good outlook for a guy like Anthony Simons, who would probably be defended by Asar Thompson. So I think that he would look really solid there. Shaedon Sharpe, same thing. He plays a lot more off ball, which is pretty good because the Pistons do allow a good amount of catch and shoot scoring. So I think that he's got decent upside at 5.7K, and then Scoot at 5K is definitely in play as well. He'll eat into some of those minutes. They've run more small ball with the lineup. I think it was Scoot, Sharpe, Simons, and then like Denny and Kamara taking over the front court spots. Probably not able to do that tonight. Maybe they can with Beef Stew on the other side, but they're probably going to want a prototypical center out there for most of the center minutes. So I don't think that the minutes upside will be there for Scoot, but he could definitely, if he's playing well and one of Sharpe or Simons is not playing well, he could eat into those minutes. So I would probably consider being a max 2 of the guards for the Blazers, Simon, Sharpe, and Henderson, but I have interest in all 3 of them. And then Kamara, 4.7K, pretty good price tag for him. Going to play a ton of minutes. Going to be matched up with Cade. A little bit of foul risk, but he's generally pretty good at not committing too many fouls. So I think he could get there just off of volume alone, because he'll probably match Cade's minutes, and Cade could play somewhere near 36, 38. So 36, 38 from a guy at 4.7K, I think you should always have interest in. And then the bigs, Ayton was he was a midday downgrade yesterday. He got listed questionable for rest purposes, and then upgraded to probable like an hour or 2 later. So keep an eye on that one, because there's a chance that he misses. The league is kind of cracking down on some of those injury tags, so it might have just been a situation where they didn't want to get fined, so they upgraded him. But definitely keep an eye on him. First game of the slate, so we'll have that news. But if he were to miss, that would make Klingon a really good value, and I think that Klingon is in play even if Aiden were to miss, but definitely would be max one of those 2. And those are probably all the guys that I'm considering. I'm not going to get to the Williams and Bands and Chris Murrays of the world on Portland. On Detroit, a lot of ways that it could go if Asar misses, because they would have to introduce somebody else into the starting lineup. They did give Wendell Moore Jr. A start a couple games ago when everybody thought it was going to be a SAR. But Simone Fontecchio is going to be back tonight after the personal tag that held him out for a few games. He would probably be the most likely guy to start if a SAR were to miss. But you're probably still looking at more minutes for guys like Marcus Sasser would get in the mix a little bit more Ron Holland, and then definitely a lot more for guys like Beasley. But yeah, starting up top, I think Cade is an excellent play tonight, 9.7K. He's had a really strong role all season long, but now you take away another higher usage guy like Jaden Ivey. He's leading the league in minutes or touch time minutes over the last 2 games, 8.1 minutes of touch time. Has a 36% usage rate, 34% assist percentage, 8.2% rebounding rate in those 2 games. So he should play close to 40 minutes in a close game. Definitely has triple-double upside every time he's on the court. So I think that he's a really strong option, 9.7K. Price tag's starting to come down a little bit more. He was up in the 10Ks for a little bit, but 9.7K looks a lot better against a pretty weak defense in the Portland Trailblazers. Probably not going to get to any of the bigs here. Don't really have too much interest in anybody outside of like Cade and Tobias Harris. I think Harris has been playing really well right now, playing a ton of minutes, shooting the ball a lot, shooting the ball well. He's only 5.4K. I think that's just clearly underpriced for how solid he's been over the last 3 games. 32.5 DK points, 49 and 36.25 over his last 3 games. So he looks like a really strong value tonight in a pretty solid game environment. And then I had interest in a SAR because I think this is the type of matchup he could do really well in versus a turnover pro team like the Portland Trailblazers, a team that struggles with the rim defense and struggles in transition. That's kind of the ways that a SAR would get going, but definitely have a little bit more doubts that he plays, and definitely probably not playing a lot of minutes coming off the illness tag. He's been eased in very, very slowly over the course of the season coming off the blood clots. So probably going to get away from a SAR tonight. But I think Beasley is a pretty solid option at 5.6K. He's going to play a ton of minutes and probably continue to eat away at Tim Hardaway Jr.'s minutes. And if a SAR misses, probably more upside for him from a minutes perspective, maybe like 34, 35 instead of low 30s minutes. I think that he makes a lot of sense. But the Detroit side is a lot tighter for me. Definitely like Cade and Tobias Harris the most, with Malik Beasley being a pretty distant third.
Let me come off you. Excellent breakdown there. My guy, First Kings, thinks that Portland's going to wipe the floor tonight with Detroit. Hey, there you go. Bet it. Play DFS. You got it. Chauncey Billups on the sidelines last night at the Lions game, coming back home for this game. And your boy, Denny, I'm not going to say his last name, but I know he's got a special place in your heart, dropping that 40 ball. Sub 5% on the other night. So excellent call on him the other night. Tough to believe he's up to 6,600. Let's move on to the next game. But before we do that, make sure you're hitting that like, hit that subscribe button. We want to give away a play of the day at the end of the show. We need 100 likes. Got over 200 in here now. Got 40 likes so far. So let's get that. Half of you, just hit that like button. Hey, then we'll get you some plays of the day. You want to get Rio's gems at the end. Next game up on the slate are going to be the Suns taking on the 76ers. No major injury news for the Suns. Royce O'Neal is set to miss. Kelly Oubre and Joel Embiid are questionable for the 76ers. KJ Martin and Jared McCain are out for the 76ers, but should be an interesting game, right? The big 3 should be available tonight for the Suns, but Suns +3 at the 76ers. Talk to me, Rio.
Yeah, before I get into this game, I definitely wanted to build off of what First Kings TV was saying, because this is the first game Chauncey Billups coaching in Detroit since being inducted into the Hall of Fame. So it's a pretty big game for him. I think it's one that he's definitely going to want to win. Obviously had the long tenure with the Pistons, winning a championship with them. So I think this is a game he probably plays things pretty tight, which is kind of why I think the Portland side is really interesting. So I definitely agree with what First Kings was saying over there. As far as this game goes, though, the really big news in this one was Chris Haynes reported last night that the Suns will be changing the lineup. They're going to be adding Ryan Dunn and Mason Plumlee to the starting lineup for Yusuf Nurkic and Bradley Beal, and it's definitely been long overdue, because that starting lineup has been one of the worst from a net rating standpoint, defensive standpoint, offensive standpoint. It was really bad too, which is kind of surprising when you consider everybody like Durant, Booker, and Beal have a good amount of upside individually as scorers, but the lineup just it didn't work out. They just don't have chemistry. I think that those guys are probably going to get traded here pretty soon. So yeah, definitely the right move by the coaching staff in Phoenix to take those guys off the starting line and have them off the bench. It'll be interesting to see what kind of role they play. I imagine they're still going to be in the rotation. They're not going to not play these guys, but it's probably closer to like mid to upper 20s minutes for Beal now, and then probably maybe upper teens for Nurkic. Maybe he might even be a DNP because he's been awful this season. And they definitely like that Iguodaro kid. So maybe they just DNP Nurkic. Yeah, definitely interesting to see how that looks moving forward. The injury news on the Sixers side is just Embiid questionable with the foot and the nose, the sinus fracture listing. Probably going to be good to go, I would imagine. But first game of the slate, we'll have that news and be able to react accordingly. But yeah, the matchup-wise for the Phoenix should be a pretty good spot for KD and Booker. Those are pretty much the only two I'm going to have in my player pool, but I do have interest in both of them. They're just going to have to play a ton of minutes here. 9.3 for KD is a little bit expensive with Booker sharing the court with him, but taking away two high usage guys like Nurkic and Bradley Beal should definitely benefit both those guys. I kind of really like Devin Booker tonight at no ownership, 8.8K. He's had a really strong usage role and just offensive ball handling role with Beal and Nurkic off the court this season. Has a 2% usage rate increase, averaging 1.3 fantasy points per minute. Returned from I believe it was the groin injury that helped him, had him out for a good portion of December. Returned on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, played 30 minutes and then 36 minutes against Indy the other night. But this is a guy that was in the upper 30s, 38, even touching 40 minutes at times in close games earlier in the season. And he had a full week of practice last week. Budenholzer said he's going to be a full go. So I'm kind of interested in Booker a lot, 8.8K. I think that just taking those guys off the court could really help the offense look better. Defense should look better as well. But I think that Booker just having the ball in his hands more, taking away those guys could really benefit him. So I have a lot of interest in Devin Booker tonight. It's really just Booker and KD for me. I'm probably just going to be max one of the Phoenix side. I just don't see this game being super enticing from a game stack perspective. I doubt we get multiple guys in GPP winning lineups from Phoenix. I'll probably just max one of KD and Booker. On the Philly side, Embiid 9.6K looks too cheap. It's going to be a lot different look defensively for the Suns. They've been really bad, like I mentioned, with Nurkic down there. But adding a guy like Plumlee, he's a lot better defender, a lot more versatile, a lot more athletic. So it could give Embiid a little bit more trouble. But a healthy Embiid is, he's underpriced. This is a guy that should be 10.5K when he's fully healthy. And in the games that he's been fully healthy, he's playing 35, 36 minutes. The minutes were held in check the last couple of games, a blowout against Golden State, and then only got to 29 minutes against Brooklyn in another blowout. So I think Embiid is a totally fine option, 9.6K, a lot of upside there. You could maybe do a little correlation with Booker and Embiid going back and forth. I wouldn't mind that. Tyrese Maxey should be in a pretty good spot here. Have to see who they put on him because it could be Ryan Dunn. I think they definitely want Dunn in the starting lineup against on-ball guys, so it could be Dunn on Maxey. But if it's Tyus Jones or Devin Booker, then should be blast off for Tyrese Maxey because the Suns' pick and roll defense has been really bad all season. Bottom 6 in pick and roll defense, definitely where Maxey thrives. So I like him 8.6K. I'm not playing Paul George 7.1K when this team is fully healthy. He just has no usage alongside Embiid and Maxey. And that's pretty much it. You should probably keep Caleb Martin in your player pool just because he can play a ton of minutes and probably a guy that they'd be okay leaving open and letting him beat them. But that's probably it. It's just Embiid, Maxey, and then KD and Booker for me in this one.
Yeah, excellent breakdown there. What about Tyus Jones? You mentioned him a little bit defensively, but no one's asking about what about he looks good against Philly. Would you agree with that?
Not really somebody I'm looking to for upside most nights. I prefer him on smaller slates because you're just not really getting paid off in the way that would matter on an 8-game slate. But I mean, yeah, hypothetically, he should be a lot better from a role standpoint with Beal and Nurkic off. I think that the assist number is probably going to increase, but he's only playing 30, 32 minutes a night. So I think there's probably better values if you want to use him as a pivot off of somebody in the next game. D'Angelo Russell, who's getting 50% ownership, or Cole Anthony, who's probably going to get 60+% ownership, then that would make sense. But definitely not somebody I'm going out of my way to play personally.
Nice. What's going on, Big Marley? Appreciate you tuning in to this game. Next game up on the slate, we have the cover boy of the day slate. We got Tyrese Halliburton going in to take on the Nets G League team. I don't know who they're trotting out here tonight. Rio. I mean, you got no Cam Johnson. You got no Cam Thomas. You got Simmons and Russell. D'Lo, questionable, should play. I don't know. I'm team never play Nets. I'm wondering if there's any value that you can find, but I think it's a blast off tonight for these Pacers who are missing some guys themselves. I'll let you touch on those guys that they're missing, but I would say Neesmith probably being the biggest one. But anybody you like Pacers at the Brooklyn Nets?
Yeah, I mean, outside of the guys that have been missing all season long for the Pacers, they're pretty healthy for the most part. Like we already know that Isaiah Jackson and James Wiseman both done for the season with the Achilles tears, and then Neesmith's been out for a while, probably going to be out for I don't think they have a timeline on him, but it's still going to be a pretty long time. Definitely the net side is the bigger side for the injury news, with Ben Simmons being listed questionable with the lower back tag. He got ruled out like before tip off, so they're probably going to be cautious with him just because he's dealt with so many injuries over his career. They did call up Derek Whitehead as well, which kind of alludes to them probably sitting him. I think D'Angelo Russell is probably fine to go. It was just a shin contusion, which is not really something that should hold you out for multiple games. So I would imagine Ben Simmons were to miss and D'Angelo Russell were to be in. Yeah, I think you kind of have to have some interest in D'Lo just because the role is going to be so big with no Cam Thomas, no Cam Johnson. Probably playing like 28, 30 minutes if the game is close enough, a little upside for more. But he's going to be running the offense. The ball's going to be in his hands a ton. They're going to have a crazy usage rate. Yeah, definitely like D'Angelo Russell tonight. I think in single entry play, you're probably locking him in. And then if Simmons were to miss, I think that it would be sneaky good for Keon Johnson, who's gotten a little bit more ball handling alongside D'Angelo Russell. And he can fill up the stat sheet a little bit too. Pretty close to a triple-double last time out with 8 rebounds, 8 assists. He's an undersized guard, but he's a pretty solid rebounder. So I don't mind Keon Johnson as well. Definitely going to have a softer matchup with Andrew Nembhard on D'Angelo Russell. And they'll probably leave like Matherin or Tyrese Halliburton on Keon Johnson. They'll probably be okay letting him beat them. So I think Keon Johnson is pretty solid at 5.3K. The back end is kind of tough to figure out, though, because you got Noah Clowney returning, you got Zaire Williams back getting healthier, you got Jalen Wilson, who they're trying to mix in, Tyrese Martin as well. I probably don't want to mess around with those guys. Jalen Wilson, probably my favorite option, 4.5K, just because they need some secondary ball handling in the second unit. That would probably be where he gets going. But yeah, probably just like a max 2 of these Nets tonight. And then Nick Claxton, I think, is a pretty sneaky good option at 6.2K. Going to get no ownership. I mentioned when the first game for D'Angelo Russell on the Nets that it's going to be sneaky good for Nick Claxton moving forward from an offensive standpoint, just because sharing the court with a guy like Ben Simmons versus D'Angelo Russell is a huge upgrade for a guy like Nick Claxton. Like when you're running the pick and roll, you don't have to worry about Ben Simmons scoring or shooting the ball. So they can go under screens and pretty much eliminate the pick and roll man like Claxton when it's Ben Simmons and Claxton out there. But D'Angelo Russell is definitely an offensive threat, so it definitely leads to a lot easier looks for Claxton. We saw him against Toronto go 7 for 11 from the field with 36 DraftKings points in 30 minutes, and he's playing 32 minutes a night. So yeah, definitely think that Claxton is a pretty good option. The Pacers are bottom 4 in pick and roll man defense, so pretty good matchup for him as well. Pacers side of things, these guys should be able to put up a ton of points here, with the Nets being just kind of without NBA caliber players on the back end outside of Claxton and D'Angelo Russell. So it should be a pretty solid spot. Their on-ball defense has still been pretty good with guys like Keon Johnson out there, but Tyrese Halliburton at low ownership is definitely enticing with how good he's playing as of late. 8.4K, pretty solid price tag for him. The good thing about Halliburton, he's got a really solid floor for the most part. If like he knows when to take over on offense and he knows when to shoot the ball more, and he also has the assist numbers to fall back on. So I think that pretty good chance that he puts up a double-double tonight and probably playing 35, 36 minutes. So I definitely like Tyrese Halliburton here. Siakam is really cheap. The minutes have not been there, but the matchup is really good. The Nets have been awful with the rim defense this season. So I think that he's pretty solid, but more of a floor cash game play for me than somebody I'm looking to for ceiling. Kind of same thing for Miles Turner. Really, all these secondary guys, like I don't really want to look to these guys for high ceiling. I think that Matherin is pretty interesting at 5.8K because he's playing a ton of minutes, and this is a team that's pretty bad with their rim protection. He's going to be driving the ball more so. So I think he makes sense. And then Miles Turner is pretty solid option. The Nets are slightly below average DVP wise against the center position this season, and he's playing pretty well. Probably don't want to get to like Nembhard or TJ McConnell or like OB, any of those secondary guys. Jarris Walker, maybe if you're playing the blowout angle, he would definitely be out there, but probably don't need to go there tonight.
Good deal. Yeah, I saw you touch on Miles Turner there against a bad team. Hey, Steven Neighbors is right, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, we got 300 watching, over 325 watching. We got about a third of you hitting the like. Just hit the like button. We've got to get over 100. We'll give you Mr. 100K. We'll give you his, his low-on player of the day, one of them anyway. And he's going to be playing in his. Appreciate that, Steven. Just hit that like button. Does us a huge favor over here. Excellent breakdown there, Rio. Moving on to the next game, and we have a laundry list of people not playing for the Magic tonight. Taking on the Knicks. You want to talk about blowouts? This should be a blowout. As you can see from the Stone, 12-point total. Magic slated to score less than 100 points. No Jalen Suggs, no Banchero, no Wagner's. Could get late early there in MSG. Talk to me a little bit about this game. Got Cat, that's questionable as well, waiting on him. But Magic facing the Knicks. Magic had a bad loss, too, the other night. Forget who it was to, but I saw it was a bad loss to somebody. Anyway, go ahead.
It was to my Jazz, I believe. Think of the Jazz.
Yeah, that's right, to your Jazz. Got blown up by the Jazz last night.
Yeah,
right.
Jazz was playing pretty good ball right now for no reason. But, yeah, I mean, generally the Magic are – I talk about a lot. Just they've been able to keep up with all these injuries and still play really solid defense. Obviously, that was a bad one against Utah, but I think that they could definitely hang around here still. Obviously, missing all of these main pieces, I think that their on-ball defense is going to get really bad. Suggs was one of the better on-ball guard defenders in the league. So pretty good spot for Jalen Brunson. The Magic have been pretty bad against in pick-and-roll scenarios, so I think that he's an option. But I think that the theme in this game is that the Knicks are just overpriced. Like, it's going to be tough to get to Brunson at 9K unless Towns misses. Towns even at 10K in a really tough matchup is probably not somewhere I'm looking to go. And then you got all the secondary pieces like Josh Hart at 8K now. Bridges at 6.7K. I could probably still play some OG at 6.3K. But I don't think that I want to get to too much on the Knicks side unless we get news that Karl-Anthony Towns were to miss, which some people around the industry seem to think that he is going to miss because it was like a really late knee injury that he had in that game. And would probably make some sense to hold him out. But I mean, this is Orlando's still towards the top of the leaderboards in the East. So they still want to win this game. So I would imagine if he's good enough to go, he's probably playing full minutes, but definitely one to keep an eye on. I don't really know if it's worth waiting to get value from this game. I have to see how projections would look, but even at 4.5K, if Precious were to get the start at center, I don't know how good of a play he would even be unless he's projected for 34 minutes. Then that would change because I think anytime you're getting somebody 30 plus minutes in the mid 4Ks, you're going to have interest. But Jericho Sims at 4K, definitely not somebody I'm looking to play as a starter even. He does nothing except rebound and definitely won't be able to score around the basket with how good Orlando is at limiting rim scoring. So I probably wouldn't want to get to him either. So yeah, pretty much not a lot on the Knicks side. I think the Orlando side is pretty interesting. Goga at 7.3K, going to get no ownership. I think he's kind of decent. He's seen a really big uptick in usage with all these injuries piling up for Orlando. Near 20% usage rate, 21% assist percentage, 24% rebounding rate, while averaging 1.21 fantasy points per minute. Doesn't have a huge minute ceiling, but probably around 32, 33, 34, something like that. Maybe closer to 30. He hasn't really played a lot lately. I think obviously some of those games were due to blowout, and then he kind of got benched a little bit in the Detroit game. But yeah, I mean, his per minute stuff is pretty solid with all these injuries piling up. So I think that he's kind of sneaky. And then Cole Anthony is going to be really tough to get away from if he's starting at 4.9K. That's a very uncomfortable click at 60, 70% ownership. I think if he's starting, he'd probably just lock him. He'd be really good. The matchup is pretty good. Pick and roll defense for the Knicks is bad. So a guy like Cole Anthony should be able to get going there. And he's an elite per minute producer with all these guys off the court this season. But yeah, it's really uncomfortable because we've seen him be chalk before and fail in a really big way. I'm not sure if it's if it's a scenario where you're pivoting to somebody on his own team, I think maybe Corey Joseph would be the guy just because he's a vet and they could go to him pretty quickly. I think Jamal Mosley has had a pretty tight leash on a guy like Cole Anthony. So if he's getting exposed early in the game or not playing well, I think they would probably go to Corey Joseph early. So maybe in there you go. Star Thompson's listed out. So maybe if you're doing 150 or 20 or 150 in that $5, you bump up Joseph to like 15, 16 points, something like that, and then be max one, Cole Anthony, Corey Joseph. You're probably not looking to get more than like 2% of Corey Joseph because I don't even know if you get paid off in a big enough way for it to matter. But yeah, I mean, in single entry, you're probably just going to be clicking Cole Anthony to start your lineups is how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, excellent breakdown there. You said it. Wardo came back over the top. Sore Thompson out for the Pistons. So go back to the playback to the Pistons section where he is out now. Talked about that. And Wardo, I know you were watching. It was a good game Friday night against the Thunder. Man, they were dominating the Thunder early. And just like last night with the Celtics, man, that Thunder in the second half, they're just a different animal, down double digits in both games. I think came back and won by double digits if I'm not mistaken. But I think all three of those teams are obviously good and will be there this summer. Make sure you're hitting that like. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. We did get to 100, so we'll give away some plays of the day at the end. Next up, we have the Bucks. I'm showing Chris Middleton as doubtful. Got Giannis, who missing layups at the end of the game. Not going to get you any winners for all my Wisconsin folks out there. Blew a layup against the Trailblazers. Can't beat the Trailblazers. So we have Middleton. We have Andre Jackson is questionable as well. Biggest injury news for the Raptors is RJ Barrett is questionable as well. If I missed anything, let me know. But we got Emmanuel Quickly, Rio, been chucking it up there about 72 times a game. This should be a back and forth affair, in my opinion. But talk to me a little bit about this game, Bucks at the Raptors -7.
Yeah, I think that I don't know why the NBA injury report hasn't updated yet because I think that Middleton already got ruled out, so they need to update that. But yeah, he should be out. So we're going to see somebody slide into the starting lineup for him. Probably going to be Taurean Prince. I think that a sneaky big injury tag in this game is the Andre Jackson Jr. one because if you take him away, they pretty much have no guard defenders that can defend guys like Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett and Scotty Barnes, like those types of guys. And Andre Jackson Jr. has really stepped up in a pretty big way as a starter for the Bucks. I think that's kind of a sneaky big injury tag. If he were to miss, I think that Emmanuel Quickly would look a lot better. And then you add on top of that, if RJ Barrett were to miss, then the whole Toronto situation looks a lot better to get into. I think right now I don't really want to get too deep into the Toronto side. This game does look pretty good from a game total perspective, and the Bucks are playing pretty bad defense right now. Mainly their transition 3-point defense has not been good. So if you're looking to attack them, those are the guys you want. Their pick and roll defense hasn't been great either, so that's kind of what gets me onto a guy like Emmanuel Quickly. But Quickly and Scotty Barnes are pretty much splitting the point guard role down the middle as they've both been right around like 5 minutes of touch time per game. But yeah, if Barrett were to return, that would just really take away some of the upside of these Toronto pieces, and I wouldn't really want to get to that side. If he were to miss, then yeah, I have a lot of interest in Barnes. Emmanuel Quickly, I think Pardo would look a little bit better as well. And then Grady Dick would even be in play at 5.4K as a guy that's going to be mostly launching threes. I think he'd get hot and get it going here. The Bucks side, though, I mean, this should be a get right spot. They're losers of 4 of their last 5 games, really struggling on offense. This is definitely a get right spot for them against one of the worst overall defenses in the league. Toronto's bottom 5 in defensive rating. Their rim defense is awful. The on-ball defense for Toronto has been pretty bad as well since they've kind of got away from Davion Mitchell. So I think that both Dame and Giannis should look really good here. Giannis is probably the top spend on the slate for me with Middleton out. Going to have a lot more usage funneling his way. Weak rim defense on the other side. Should have nobody that can really defend him. I'm not sure if they're going to put Scotty Barnes on him, but Scotty's just not – I just don't think he's good enough defensively to stop Giannis. And 11.3K is, I would say, too cheap of a price tag for Giannis. So I'm definitely going to look to jam him in. If I don't get him, then I would definitely be looking to Dame because I think one of these guys puts up a really solid game. Like I mentioned with Davion Mitchell shifting to the bench. I don't even know if he's playing much minutes anymore lately, but their on-ball defense has been really bad. Toronto's has. And Dame is playing a ton of minutes right now. A lot more usage funneling his way with no Middleton. Sees a slight increased usage rate with Middleton off the court this season, but definitely more so Giannis. But 8.7K is really good price tag for Dame at no ownership. Max 1, Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez. It seems like Brook Lopez is starting to lose minutes. He was playing a ton earlier in the season. Hasn't topped 24 minutes in 3 straight games, as Bobby Portis has played close to 30. So definitely be max one of those two guys. Probably not going to get to too much Portis, if any. It's just really priced. He's really priced up. Like, this was the price you're paying when Giannis and Dame were both out, and they're both in now. So definitely not going out of my way to play Portis tonight. And then Taurean Prince, I think, should probably be in the player pool as just a pure punt. He can get hot from time. Like, you're just hoping that he makes like 4 or 5 threes and adds a couple of rebounds, because he doesn't really do much else. Definitely not somebody that is going to get you like 30 fantasy points, but 19, 20 could be enough on the slate. So I wouldn't mind him. And then if Andre Jackson were to miss, one of Adrian Green or Gary Trent Jr. would be inserted into starting lineup. I probably would like Gary Trent Jr. a little bit more at 3.3K, but neither would really stand out in a really big way. Like I said, I think the matchup would get a lot better for Emmanuel quickly if Jackson Jr. were to miss.
Yeah, excellent breakdown. There, we got a lot of talk in the chat. Well, I guess we can get there here in a minute, but yeah, we'll talk about Giannis versus Wemby. We'll get there here in a second when we get to that game, which, hey, just so happens to be next game up on the slate. Let me scroll it down. We have Wemby heading into the Wemby City, aka the Windy City in Chicago. He's got a great matchup tonight against Vooch. Talk to me about this game. 236 point total. Spurs 3-point favorite. Interested to hear your take on this game, and then give me your take, Giannis versus Wemby, straight up tonight.
I don't know. I guess it's really tough. Like, it's honestly a coin flip for me because I have been projected pretty similar, but I think I'm gonna go with Giannis tonight. Not really a lot of confidence in that pick because I love Wemby as a player, and he's really playing really good basketball right now. So it's not something I'm looking to like take a stand on, but I think I slightly lean Giannis. I think the floor is probably just a little bit better tonight for Giannis. But I don't know. People are probably going to flame me in chat for saying that. It's not saying like I don't like Wemby. I really, really think that this is a great spot for the Spurs tonight. I think you could definitely get to like 3 of them. Starting with Wemby, I mean, he's probably 1A, 1B to Giannis tonight. It's such a great matchup for him. He's starting to get more paint touches as well, as people were kind of complaining about him just launching too many threes. Last couple of games, he's been turning it up at the rim, scoring a lot there as of late, and he's still going to get the 3-point volume up as well. The usage is really good, coming off of 2 huge games against Denver over the weekend. Put up 69 and 64 DK points with 18 and 23 rebounds in those 2 games. So I like to see that because he was there's times where he can kind of take plays off as a rebounder, but he was being very aggressive rebounding the ball. So hopefully that will be sticky here because that just increases the floor ceiling combo for him because we know he's going to score. Definitely has the steals and blocks to fall back on. I don't think this is a game where we get a ton of blocks from him. The Bulls are going to be launching it from outside more so than anything. They're one of the highest highest volume 3-point shooting teams in the league. So probably not a lot of block opportunities for a guy like Wemby, but still I think the scoring is going to be there. He's going to take close to 10 3-pointers in a game. So a ton of upside. If I can find ways to make a lineup work where I have Wemby and Giannis, I'll definitely look at that. But the guards are in really big spots here as well. Devin Vassell and Chris Paul. Bulls have been giving up a ton of pick and roll scoring this season towards the bottom half of the bottom, like 3 or bottom 2 in DVP against both guard positions. I think the way I'm going to play, because I definitely have interest in pretty much everybody from Sochan up to Wemby. But I think if I'm playing Wemby, I don't want more than one of Vassell or CP3. You could probably toss Sochan in there as well, but I definitely don't want I would say definitely max one of Vassell and Chris Paul in lineups that contain Wemby is what I would probably be looking to make a rule tonight. I think Sochan is probably okay to float just because he gets his fantasy points in a different way with a lot of rim scoring, a lot of rebounding, things like that. So I could see 3 of those guys get in there, but probably not both of Vassell and Paul with Wemby. And then probably not going to get to any of these secondary pieces. They're getting healthier, so Castle kind of, minutes are coming way down, and Keldon, Harrison Barnes, Shane Penny just don't really do enough for me to be viable. And then the Bulls side is really gross because they are pretty much fully healthy outside of Ayo. And the prices are starting to come up a lot. 8.8K for Vooch. I just don't see how you can play any of him. 8.2K for Levine. He's playing a lot better as of late, but that's still really expensive for a guy that is pretty much entirely scoring dependent. Giddey, the minutes are never going to be there for him, so paying nearly 8K for Giddey is really uncomfortable. I think that Kobe White is probably my preferred option of the top Bulls guys. 6.9K. He shot the ball. I think he had a career high shooting night from 3-point range against New York. When they got the win against New York, put up 33 points, 9 of 11 from deep. I think he's probably the safest from a minutes perspective, and I guess the matchup is probably the best for him going up against Devin Vassell. So I think that he'd be my preferred option, but probably not somebody I have like a strong conviction on. And then Lonzo Ball, I think, is interesting at 4.2K. I'm probably going to run him a couple points higher because this could be a spot where I see those minutes eat into Josh Giddey a little bit more, with Chris Paul and Devin Vassell being guys on the other side that can hunt Josh Giddey on defense, and he's just terrible defensively. Lonzo provides a lot more versatility defensively, and he's got rebounding and assists and steals upside, all that type of stuff. So I think that he's pretty interesting as a value play that's not getting a ton of ownership. If I'm playing any of these Bulls guys, though, from Kobe White up, I definitely want a Spurs piece on the comeback because I just don't see them getting there outside of a really high-scoring and close game environment. And if that's the case, I think you're probably going to want to correlate some of those pieces on San Antonio and just buy all the way into this game shooting out in a big way.
Yeah, excellent breakdown there. We had some Lonzo Ball questions in the chat, and you covered off on those. Then we got my guy CP3 in there as well. We have 2 games left to talk about. We got the Dallas Mavericks heading in to Bluff City to take on my Memphis Grizzlies. We got no Ja. We got no Luka. Got no Kyrie. Hopefully you didn't buy tickets for the game tonight. You'll be sorely disappointed. Some D. Bain news to talk about as well. So talk to us about Desmond Bain being injured, and I think doubtful Santi Aldama is also out for this Grizzlies team. But talk to me, Dallas at Memphis.
Yeah, it seems like every season Memphis is just dealing with injuries. I don't know. They got to hire some new people in that training staff or something. It's just crazy how frequently this team is just dealing. Like you could probably look back past couple of years and not even recognize half the names on the roster. But they're still playing great. I mean, this is a really well-coached team. I think they're second in the West right now, even, having Ja out for most of the season. ED's missed a handful of time. Vince Williams, Marcus Smart, all those guys are missing games, and they're still playing really well. But yeah, Desmond Bain looks like he's going to miss tonight. I think he rolled up his ankle pretty good, so maybe missing a couple games. And then Luke Kennard was initially listed out yesterday, but got upgraded to questionable. So, yeah, I mean, that'd be really good news for them from the guard standpoint, because they're not dealing with a lot of guys that can handle the ball outside of Scottie Pippen Jr., and they've kind of shown that they're pretty reluctant to give him heavy minutes, even with Ja and Marcus Smart out. They don't really want to play him into the 30s. And then like Jalen Wells is not really like a point guard, so it looks pretty gross from a ball handling perspective for the Grizzlies, which kind of makes me think Jake LaRavia is a really solid play, because he's kind of like a point forward. Like, he's a really good passer, can fill up the stat sheet in a lot of ways. So I think that he's probably the guy I'd be looking to as a value play. I just I don't know if Conchar can do enough scoring wise to pay off his price tag. I guess he's going to be low owned, so that's interesting. But he's a guy you need to get. He needs like double digit rebounds, and then hopefully he can fall into 10 points or something like that. But he doesn't really have much in an offensive game. I don't think that Jalen Wells is really worth the price tag at 5.3K. He did pay off in a big way against Sacramento, but then kind of went right back to his normal role the next game against Golden State. And he's still playing a ton of minutes, so like he is a fine cash game option, I would say. But I just don't think that on a nightly basis you can really count on a guy like Jalen Wells to give you upside. I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is just going to have a massive role tonight. They've shown that they're more comfortable playing him heavy minutes now. Has a huge usage rate, 34%, averaging 1.4 fantasy points per minute. Played no less than 34 minutes over his last 3 games. So if we're getting 35, 36 from Jaren Jackson, I don't really care if the matchup is tough, which it is a little bit tougher against Dallas. But I mean, he's just going to have the ball in his hands a ton. He's driving the ball a ton as well. I think he's leading the league in scoring off drives over the last like 4 or 5 games, something like that. So yeah, really, really big role coming Jaren Jackson Jr.'s way. I think he's definitely worth a 9.1K price tag. But yeah, if I had to like rank these Memphis guys, Jaren Jackson for sure number 1. I think that I didn't really talk about Edey, but I think that this could be a spot where his minutes kind of climb up a little bit. He returned from I forgot, it might have been an ankle injury for him, but he missed a handful of games played against Sacramento a couple nights ago, and then Golden State the other night got into a Draymond a little bit. But his minutes have been held in check. Both those teams can kind of run out smaller ball lineups with Trey Lyles in Sacramento, and then obviously Draymond at the 5 for Golden State could lead to fewer minutes for a guy like Edey. But Dallas is pretty much running out 48 full minutes from Gafford and Lively. So I think this could be a spot where he plays, somewhere between like 25 and 27 minutes. 27 was like the cap for him for a handful of games. But yeah, if that's the case, if he gets 27, I think that he's a pretty strong pivot off of Lively, who's getting a lot of ownership on the other side of this game. But yeah, I think Edey's pretty solid. Pippen, I'm a little bit reluctant to get to. He's a really solid per minute guy with all those guys off the court, but just not playing enough minutes. I already talked about Jalen Wells and LaRavia. I really like LaRavia. Don't really love Conchar. And then Luke Kennard, if he's playing and they're saying like he's a full go, he's had a really big role. The assist numbers were really good. Right around triple-double last game, 8 rebounds, 9 assists. But the playmaking has really ticked up in a big way since that Toronto game where he put up 8, been right around like 3 to 4. But they just don't really have a lot of guards on the back end of the rotation, so they're going to need to put the ball in his hands a lot. So I think that he would be a pretty strong value option at 4.6K if he's given the green light to play full minutes. Brandon Clark, I don't know, 3.9K, fine value. Going to play low 20s minutes. Probably wouldn't want to play him with Edey, but definitely max 2 of Edey, Jaren Jackson, and Brandon Clark. And then on the Dallas side, we could see a lineup change here. They've been starting Spencer Dinwiddie as the point guard for when Luka and Kyrie are both out. But I think in the second half of last game, they sat him for Jaden Hardy. Jaden Hardy returned from a pretty bad ankle turn a few games ago, and they've really eased him back in. But he got to 25 against Cleveland, so they might keep Spencer Dinwiddie off the bench and give more minutes to Jaden Hardy. So I think that he'd be pretty interesting at 4.5K if no ownership goes that way, just because we know he does really well when he gets the minutes, and one of, if not two of Kyrie and Luka are out. And it's not a terrible matchup for a guy like Jaden Hardy, who's going to be launching threes more so against a team like Memphis that allows a lot of catch and shoot stuff. So I think that he makes some sense if he's starting. But yeah, you really want to focus on the catch and shoot guys on Dallas, which there are a lot of them. Like PJ's going to stand around the 3-point line and catch and shoot. Clay, that's all he does now. Doesn't really add enough on the peripheral side. Would be less excited about a guy like Klay Thompson. But Quentin Grimes, I think, is a really strong option, 5.5K as well. He had a really big role, led the team in touch time and assists last game against Cleveland, as Dinwiddie played really bad. So I think that he's kind of sneaky. I think he has probably staying in the starting lineup even with Najee Marshall returning. So yeah, I think that Grimes is pretty solid. And then Max 1, Lively, and Gafford. Definitely prefer Lively now as he's getting closer to full health. He was on his way to playing like 31, 32 minutes against Cleveland the other night. The game kind of got out of hand and got cut down at the end of the game there. So definitely like Lively a good bit, and Grimes and PJ probably my next favorite on Dallas.
How many Grizzlies are too many Grizzlies? Richie Smalls wants to know.
Hadn't really thought that through. I think it's more so just about grouping. Like I don't want 2 of Jaren Jackson, Clark, and Edey. Probably don't want. I hadn't really thought about this, but I would say probably like 3 is the max I would want. Maybe 4, you can get away with 4, but I think you just kind of have to think through the grouping. I didn't really have enough time to look at the popcorn machine and see who's checking in for who. But I would imagine it's something like Kennard, Wells, and Pippen all kind of eat into each other, and then probably like LaRavia and Pippen also. So something along those lines is what I would be considering in terms of grouping.
Good deal. Ross, yeah, he mentioned Hardy was in play, came in for Dinwiddie tonight. If he gets the start, I think he's in play. But, yeah, moving on to the next game. It's the last game of the night. We got almost 500 in here watching. Certainly appreciate you tuning in on this Monday. There must not be any Monday Night Football tonight, Hebrewcheetah, because we got everybody in here watching the NBA show. We'll be here for the rest of the NBA season like we have already for this season. Just do us a quick favor. Make sure you hit that like. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I want you to do me a favor. We had a big conversation earlier about, are you team Giannis tonight or team Wemby? Put it in the chat who you got tonight. I want to see what the people are playing. Are you playing Giannis? Are you playing Wemby? Put it in the chat for me. We'll talk about this last game, then we'll get on out of here. We got the Clippers heading into Minnesota. We got Kawhi back. coming off of I think 19-minute performance. Good to see him back, one of the greatest players, 5 years ago or whatever, obviously slowing down as he gets older, but heading into to Minnesota to take on these Timberwolves. I would say the Timberwolves will turn it around and they go into Detroit and lay an egg, but playing a little bit better basketball. I personally don't like the roster of these Clippers games. I just think they're slow. Obviously, the Timberwolves pretty good at defense, but decent total, 215. Timberwolves 2.5-point favorites. Talk to me about this game. Any Harden love, any Ant love, but Clippers at the Timberwolves.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty clearly the worst game environment on the slate. And we have two top 10, top 8 defenses in the league facing off. And then you got Kawhi returning to kind of take away a lot of usage. I mean, he posted like a 31% usage rate in his first game back, and that was only in, 18, 20-ish minutes, something like that, 19 minutes. I mean, he's definitely not going to play a ton of minutes. Like, you're probably capping him at 22, 23. But still, it's going to be really hard to find ceiling from these guys right now. James Harden, 8.9K. I just don't see how I can get to Harden, 8.9K, or Zubac at 7.8K, Norm Powell, 7K. Like, all these guys take a really big hit from a fantasy scoring output and then the usage output. Like, these guys just aren't going to be able to do enough right now unless these prices really start to come down a bit. I guess, like, if I had to choose one of these guys, it would be Zubac, just because he's probably less affected from a guy like Kawhi Leonard returning. I mean, he had a good game against Atlanta, put up 18 and 18, so that's kind of what you're hoping for. And he's generally been pretty good against Rudy Gobert in his career, so I think that he'd probably be the only guy I'd want, but not recommending to play him by any means because he's expensive for life with Kawhi Leonard. I guess I could get into the Minnesota side a little bit more, but this is just going to be a defensive battle as how I'm seeing it. Anthony Edwards had a career high night against Detroit. Still didn't matter as they got the loss, but it was nice to see him driving a ton, shot the ball really well from deep, 10 15 from 3, 53 real life points. So that was good to see. He played 44 minutes in that one. Obviously, there's been like a lot of talk all year long about this team. Their offense has been terrible. Defense has still held up really nicely. But yeah, Anthony Edwards, like he profiles as a guy like me. Like, he's got the Mamba mentality, like the Michael Jordan mindset, where he's gonna try to put the team on his back and do everything he can to win. I think that was kind of the result there against Detroit. So he's still too cheap. The matchup is really tough. I would imagine Chris Dunn is going to be on him. And then also a mixture of like Derek Jones Jr. and those types of guys. Maybe Kawhi for a little bit, probably not. But yeah, if the volume is gonna stay high like that, then he's definitely a little bit underpriced. So I'll get to some Anthony Edwards, but don't love this game as a whole. Probably be max one Ant and Julius Randle. Randle still has a solid floor with the rebounding and assist numbers looking pretty solid. Been right around like 6-7 assists a game, like most of last month and last like 2 weeks. So I think that he's probably in play as like a last man in, but I never really loved rostering Randle. The price tag on Gobert is crazy low now, 5.7K. I don't know. I don't really have like a lot of good things to say about him, but he's not too far removed from some pretty big fantasy scores. And they definitely will need him to probably not match Zubac, but be close to like maybe 90-95% of Zubac's minutes Gobert will get, as they like to put him on prototypical big men like Zubac. So I could see him playing like 32, 33 minutes tonight. It's just too cheap of a price tag for Gobert, really. I don't really have like, there's nothing matchup wise that stands out, but I just think that like you're just hoping for double digit boards, double digit points, something like that, and he could definitely do that. So I'll keep him in my player pool. Definitely max 2 of Nas, Randle, and Gobert. I think it's honestly getting to a point where you could possibly be max 1 of those 2 or max 1 of those 3, but definitely max 2. And I don't really love these secondary pieces as much. I think McDaniels is kind of interesting at 4.2K just because he's been shooting the ball a lot better, 50% from the field over his last 2 games. Should play a ton of minutes for the defense on James Harden, and they've kind of the defensive trend against a guy like McDaniels, they've been okay letting him be the guy that beats him if they take away the high end scoring from a guy like Anthony Edwards. So you see those games where Ant gets doubled, it leads to some pretty decent scores from guys like Jaden McDaniels, and he's been rebounding the ball pretty well as of late as well. So I don't mind Jaden McDaniels at 4.2K. Don't really have a strong take on Naz Reid. Probably not a matchup where I see him playing more minutes than usual with Kawhi Leonard out there. So probably back to like his 24, 25 minute range. And then Dante, definitely max 1, Dante and Conley. Yeah, don't really have much to say about him either. Just hope that he gets hot from 3 is how I'm looking at it.
Excellent breakdown there. I'm going to say the chat was on Team Wemby today. Think he's going to go. Someone was talking in the chat about there's a snowstorm in Chicago, which I don't doubt, but have you heard anything about them maybe delaying, postponing that game? Obviously, we hope to get that news before lock or that game locks, but have you heard anything around that?
No, if you want to stall a little bit, I can look for something.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, my guy, Metro Boom, he's going to go out there and break some ankles. Take it easy on him, Metro Boom. Don't hurt anybody out there on the courts tonight. While you're looking at that, could you rank these? Cade Cunningham, Damian Lillard, and Devin Booker. Rank those three for me, please.
It's just a Cade, Dame, and Booker. I would probably say Cade is first. It's like the price is a little bit different on Cade, so it's kind of tough to compare the two or the three. But I would say Cade, then probably Booker, and then Dame for me. Extra sauces in Chicago. He said no snow, so I don't.
No snow. I'm looking outside. It was snowing here in Tennessee earlier, which makes me think it could be snowing in Chicago. That makes no sense, but maybe it could, maybe it couldn't. Anyway, that'll do it. That's all 8 games. We got through that in under an hour. Appreciate all 500 of you that were tuning in at what time. All right, the people spoke. Hebrewcheetah, they know that you've been winning money left and right. I want you to give me 2 plays tonight. I want you to give me the one player on the slate that's going to score the most points on the slate. Then I want your Max Christie 2.3% owned play of the day.
I mean, it's pretty clearly Wemby or Giannis. So I'm not going to.
No, you got to pick one. You can't pick both. You got to pick one. You got to pick one.
Yeah, I'll side with Giannis. I think this is
all right. Going Giannis to score the most points, so that's gonna upset the chat because they're all over Team Wemby. Now give me your Max Christie 2.3% play of the day.
I have somebody up top that I really like as a spend up in one of the first games. So I can either do that or I could try to find somebody in the value range that's kind of going overlooked. So you decide for that.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do a value. Let's do a value play. I think that'll give just scrolling through here, looking at some names. Give me a value play. It's going to be sub 5% tonight. That is going to put up, I don't know, 40 some odd fantasy points.
Damn, 40 might be tough. I'd say like a per dollar play that I like that's going to be low owned. I think it's Lonzo. He's been playing really, really good basketball since returning from the knee injury. Looks like he's getting healthier too. See him dunking left and right. His brother is releasing bangers in the music industry. So we got a lot of momentum going Lonzo's way. I think this could be a spot where we see him eat into Giddey a little bit more with the guards on the San Antonio side that they'll need a little bit more defense. I think he eats into those minutes that Giddey has. And I just think that the game environment, the fast-paced game environment kind of matches up a little bit better for a guy like Lonzo. So I think that he's a pretty solid option at 4.2K.
There we go. Giddy on up to click on Lonzo Ball's name. Going to be taking over in Chi-Town. Going to be listening to those bangers left and right. BG Little Neck all over him some Edie tonight. Looks like he loves him some Edie. We certainly appreciate you tuning in. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. It helps us out over here a ton. That was a great Monday. Over 500 people in here joining us. We certainly appreciate it. We bring you these shows 4 days a week at the moment. We will pick up a Thursday show once the NFL season is officially over. So Monday through Wednesday, and then again on Friday. I'll be out of town next week, so you'll get my guy BJ and Rio next Monday on the call. But certainly appreciate everyone tuning in. Any closing remarks, Rio, before we head on out of here?
No, yeah, it'll be fun to add that Thursday show. We're discussing it behind the scenes, so figuring out some scheduling stuff. But yeah, we'll be adding the Thursday show as the NFL starts to wind down a little bit. NBA takes over. Definitely get you guys covered with live shows 5 days a week, and then the quick hits on Saturday that BJ's been doing a great job with. But yeah, hopefully we all broke the slate down good enough for everybody. Hopefully we can build off of a really good week last week and keep that going into this week. It's a really, really good week of basketball. A lot of fun games this week, and then the 888 on Wednesday have a couple tickets in there. I know a couple people in the Discord have some tickets too, so that'll be a big night for everybody. So yeah, good luck tonight, everybody.
Yeah, good luck tonight, everybody, in those contests. We'll see you at the top of the leaderboards. Until next time, let's ship it.